Good day, Team Telco. We continue with our odoo orientation training. We have previously covered in General 09 the HR-related modules, which were attendance leaves, loans, timesheets, and resignations. In General Training 10, we cover the topics of employee costs and expenses, all right, and accountability. Basically, in this training, we're looking at the modules that relate to your costs as an employee or your expenses as an employee that you may want to claim or get from the company, as well as general other accountability modules, like how to request things from the stocks and stores, or how to request for a purchase of certain tools or equipments or services that you need to use in the conduct of your day-to-day work, or even how to request a vehicle or lunch. All right, so let's look at that. Okay, so we go back to our view. As an employee, we're looking at the menu. All right, in the menu, we're going to start with expenses first. All right, so expenses are any costs, all right, that an employee will claim, or any cost that an employee will claim from the company. The expenses are looked at in one of two ways. For example, let's say you have an airtime allowance, all right? So to claim or to get that airtime allowance, you will use the expenses module. Or let's say you are traveling out of town and you have some hotel or accommodation costs or expenses that need to be covered, all right? So those expenses or costs will be covered again by making an expense requisition, all right, or an expense claim, all right? Let's look at that. So general menu, we come into expenses. All right, so what we do, as is becoming common, we create the expense type that we are requesting or claiming for, all right? What is key and important, maybe let me open this one here. So what is key and important is that in the description or the expense description field here, we must detail what it is. So for example, this one was parking fees, all right? It is then also detailed the vehicle number or the vehicle registration number that this was being claimed for, the employee, all right, and the date, all right? So our expense description must always follow this format, all right? What it is that we're claiming for, parking fees, any other detail, the vehicle, for example, is related to, the employee is related to, and lastly, the date, okay? We must always follow that format, all right? So once we enter that in, you'll note that we can easily just quickly copy this, and this is the same information that must go in this field here called billing reference, all right? So we can copy, once we enter that in correctly, we paste it in there. So another example was if this was airtime, instead of parking fees, would be saying airtime, wouldn't have this registration number, but would have the employee and the date, all right? If it was travel and subsistence, likewise here, the expense description will start by saying travel and subsistence, the employee, and the date, okay? Right, then we go here, secondly, we go to the product, okay? So in the system, in odoo, there are already defined certain products that relate to these expenses, all right? So if it's accommodation, banking transaction, travel by bus fare, cell phone charges, there are quite a number of them. So you will then select according to what your expense cost, what your expense description has stated above, all right? What it is, the product that matches that, okay? You will then put the unit price and the quantity, all right? So if it's airtime, obviously it may just be quantity 1 and then the denomination of that airtime. Or for example, if our vouchers are only in $5 units and you need $20, obviously you will change that to become 4, all right? To get you the total of $20, all right? Okay. At the bottom here, payment by. All right. So this is a very important one. So, for example, if I've already gone out and I've procured the service, whether accommodation, parking fees, airtime, whatever the cost is, and I'm looking for a refund, all right, reimbursement from the company, and I've got my receipts and all relevant paperwork, I'll then select employee to reimburse. In other words, I'm looking for a refund. But if I'm looking for the company to pay this expense out for me, then company. All right. So those are the distinctions here of payment by. All right. So if the employee has already paid this and they're looking for a refund, all right, they put their employee to reimburse. If the employee has not yet paid and is expecting the company to pay this out, then company. All right. Is that clear? I hope so. All right, then billing reference we've already dealt with. The expense description becomes our billing reference. The expense date is the date of the claim, all right, or the date when the expense was due or was paid. Sale order won't be relevant most of the time if this expense is related to a certain sale. So, for example, if we have to travel and there's T&S or accommodation related to a sale that has already been made in the system, we will then select which customer sale it's related to. The currency, right? So is it Zim dollars? Is it ZAR? Maybe I'm traveling to South Africa. Is it Botswana pullers? Maybe a job or works in Botswana, or is it US dollars? Whatever the case is, we'll select the currency. Analytic account, don't worry about that. The accountants will fill that in if necessary. And then the company, all right? So company will always be telecontract, okay? So for the most part on the expense, that is the basics. One more, a very key and important thing, if this is for reimbursement or if this has already been paid by the company, in other words, they gave you the money for the expense and you spent the money, it is important to attach the receipts of these expenses, all right? So that is done by coming to here where it says documents, all right? And you just create there a document and you attach a file with the relevant receipt. So scan it take a picture with your phone, scan it with the scanner, send it to yourself by email, select the document and attach it that way. All right, that is one way. The other way, which I find to be easier, instead of attaching under documents, is you just come to the log note here, right? Put a note, receipt, go to the paper clip, same process, attach the document, all right? That relates to that. So if you do that, the document will come out attached and then you just click log note, all right? So that is how I would prefer to do it. Alternatively, do it through the documents there, all right? Once that has been done, submit to manager, all right? So you're submitting this expense for approval by your manager, for approval by human resources. And as has become, should be second nature now, after doing that, you can also then send a message, okay? Send a message to say, this is the expense I'm asking to be paid for or that I've already paid for and I need a refund. So send a message to your manager, send a message to the HR officer, all right, to process that for you. Okay. So this is expenses. We move on to requisitions. All right, so in the course of our normal work day, in the course of doing our duties and responsibilities, they may be from time to time need to request for stocks and stores inventory or for the purchase of certain stocks, stores, products or inventory or services for you to be able to conduct your responsibilities accordingly. This is done through the requisitions module, okay? On the menu, click on requisitions and you create, okay? So as long as you're doing it from your account, it will immediately pick your detail and information. Please just make sure that this date is correct, all right? So it's the 11th. The requisition responsible, again, should be the person requesting. So in this case, it's Aaron. He's the employee. He's also the one responsible who's making the requisition. If this requisition relates to a job card or a task that you're performing, please select accordingly the job card or the task that relates to this requisition. So if it's a customer installation and you need a little bit of additional material from stores, or you need additional material that is not in stores and you need it to be purchased, just select that job card, okay? Next, you add the actual product, okay? So let's say in this case, it's fuel, diesel that we need. You put in the quantity, 20 liters, okay? You put in a reason. So for the different types of material you're requesting, if it's a service, you put in what service it is. You want to hire an electrician to do a solar installation, okay? You want to buy coffee creamer for the canteen, all right? Or you need coffee creamer from stores, okay? So all of that information you must put in the reason for the requisition. If it's for fuel, you must detail your opening mileage, closing mileage, as advised by the stocks and stores and fuel managers from stores, okay? So you put in that information there, okay? You must then also fill in the picking details, all right? There's a document on which picking details are relevant, all right? So you must fill in the picking details, the source location, destination location, and the picking type. You can consult with the officers from stocks and stores in this regard. Any other information will give you if this has been confirmed, how many managers have confirmed it, and so forth, okay? So as you do that, you then confirm your requisition, all right? And lastly, once it's confirmed, it's going to send to the relevant line manager for the employee. The line manager will then take it through the transition for the first approval, a second approval from another manager, and then lastly, it will be created as a purchase or a picking order, okay? So fairly simple, fairly straightforward. This is how you create a picking. The pickings will be sorted or distinguished by whether it's a purchase, all right? Are we buying this thing from an external service provider, or a picking? A picking is when we're picking it from stores, from our stocks and stores. In other words, we already have it in our stocks and stores and we need to purchase. We don't need to purchase it. We just need to get it from stocks and stores, all right? So once that's done, again, send a message to your line manager, share this message with your line manager and or the people from stocks and stores. Then you can always then follow up with the guys in purchasing, stocks and stores, on whether the item has been purchased or whether it's ready for issue, okay? There are set issuing times in the organization, which you will find out from during the course of your orientation. All right, so that's purchasing requisitions, all right? The next item we'll look at is vehicles, all right? So from time to time, if you have been tested and have either been allocated a vehicle to use, before you make any trips, right? This is regardless of whether you're in office or not. You may be working from home and have a vehicle available for you to use. Before you make any trips, it is key and important that you make a vehicle requisition, okay? The vehicle requisition will detail on the vehicle requisition, you'll detail where you're going, what are the trips you intend to make on that, and it must be approved by your line manager or by a manager, all right? The vehicle requisitions are done under employees, under the employees module, vehicle requests, okay? Let's go through that again. Employees module, vehicle requests, all right? And when you get to the vehicle request screen, you create. All right, so here you specify who's requesting the vehicle. You specify the date from when to the date when you intend to come back, right? Usually our requests are on the day, so you are more tweaking the time here, all right, rather than the date. Okay. If there's a specific job number or task that you are going to be doing there, specify it here. All right, put in the description. So maybe here we're doing sales. So customer visit. Okay, you can specify the name of the customer, right? You can put in the time attending the job if there's to be specified. If there are other follow-up jobs, so this was one job card and description, you can then fill in the other follow-up jobs that you anticipate to do up to a total of 7. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, and then you select the vehicle. All right, the specific vehicle that you've been allocated or that you're using. All right. So a list of all the company vehicles is available here for you to select which vehicle it is that you'll be using. All right. Once you've done that, you save. Save. And then you send the request. Okay. And as it should be our normal culture now, even after you send the request and it's waiting approval, send a message to your line manager or share with them in the odoo chatter that vehicle request so that they get it approved quickly. Okay? So vehicle requisitioning very easily. Once the manager approves, you are able then to make your trip. All right? Okay, lastly, lunch. Right, so we have a lunch module. Okay, this lunch module is fairly simple. The lunches can be internal, so in other words, lunches that are provided to staff from on campus in the company, or can be purchased from outside. It just depends what is available. All right. So in the menu, we go to lunch. Right, fork and knife there. It will automatically select your employee or your user. All right, the date. And then you can then add the product as is available from the inbuilt menu. All right. So chicken stew and maybe some rice. All right. You can put in any notes. There are some subsidized lunches. There are some lunches that must be paid. Okay. If it's an employee, it will continually tell you your balance. So once you do that, you save. Okay. And that lunch order goes in and is processed as per the available lunch menu items by the human resources department. Okay. All right. And once that's processed and issued to you, your balance will then show what you owe. Okay. Which will be deducted from your salary at the end of the month. Okay. So other expense related items, which we had already covered in General 009, is things like loans and advances, which we've covered quite well in the previous training. Okay. So these are the key employee costs and expenses and the accountability modules that we use in odoo: expenses, requisitions, vehicles, requisitions, and lunch. All right. I hope that has been useful training and that will get you up and running on odoo as quickly as possible. Thank you.